And now, a Scared for Reals Extra.
Hey, it's Chris O'Neill.
And Adam Perry.
And we've got a new film in the what they're calling it the postmodern film movement called the Greek Weird Wave.
Okay, then.
Yorgos Lanthimos. He's probably Greek's most famous film director right now. He's fresh off of Oscar nominations, not only for The Favorite, but also Poor Things. He's got a new film that's been out in theaters for a few weeks. It's called Kinds of Kindness. And I sent you a trailer, Adam, and I like your word, interesting. That's what you said.
Yeah, very interesting.
That's how you can sum up Yorgos Lanthimos cinema is interesting. But it's a good kind of interesting, Adam. It's not one of those ones where you're like, well, this is interesting, but it's weird. All of his movies have that in common. They're weird, hence the Greek weird wave. But they're good. They're original. They seem fresh. But I can't watch them more than once.
Right.
I mean, I saw The Favorite several years back when it got released. I mean, it was good, but I'm not going to watch it again. Mm-hmm. Same with Poor Things. I saw that last year. I have no want to see that again. And we have Kinds of Kindness. And it's got the triptych kind of thing going on where there's three stories. They take the same actors and put them in different roles. Mm-hmm. You've seen those before, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got three different stories here, and they're all kind of loosely connected with a character called RMF.
Okay.
He doesn't tell us what the initials stand for. Mm-hmm. I think one of them's name is Robert. I think that's his first name. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. RMF. I mean, the story is literally has something to do with RMF. Okay. Let's see. The first story is called The Death of RMF. Okay.
Yep.
The second one is RMF is Flying. And then third, RMF eats a sandwich.
Okay. Then.
Yeah, it's a very, very, they call it absurdist black comedy. That's how it's described, absurdist black comedy anthology film. So let's start off. You've got a brilliant cast headed by two-time Oscar winner Emma Stone. You've got Oscar nominee Jesse Plemons, one of the greatest actors out there, Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
I mean, when he's in a movie, you know it's going to be interesting. I mean, you don't even have to watch it, and you know, okay, Willem Dafoe's in it. Even if it's a bad movie, he'll be interesting at least. You also have Margaret Qualley. You probably remember her, Adam. Did you ever watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes.
She was the teenager that flirts with Brad Pitt. Remember? Okay. And then you have Hong Chow, who is in, did you see Downsizing with Matt Damon?
No.
She was also in The Whale, which you probably haven't seen.
I've seen bits and pieces of The Whale.
Yeah. Probably not your cup of tea.
Nothing according to you is my cup of tea.
Well, no. Well, Darren Aronofsky is a certain type of filmmaker where you either love his movies or you don't. Black Swan.
Yeah, I've seen Black Swan. So I thought Black Swan was good.
Yeah. He also did Pi.
Yep.
The Fountain.
I've heard of The Fountain. I haven't seen The Fountain.
With Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
But, and Yorgos is a similar type of filmmaker. It's one of those, you either love his movies or you hate them. It's just not like, oh, it's okay. You know, I've never heard someone say, yeah, this Yorgos movie is okay. It's either I loved it, it's a masterpiece, or I hated it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Kinds of Kindness just opened up a few weeks ago. It was Jesse Plemons actually won the Cannes Film Award for Best Actor, and it's nothing like you've seen him before. You've probably seen Breaking Bad.
Yep.
He was in The Irishman. He had a part in Killers of the Flower Moon, but he was also in Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
With his wife Kirsten Dunst.
Mm-hmm.
But so let's start off. The Death of RMF. And by the way, we're Scared for Reals. You can subscribe on YouTube here so you don't miss an episode. We're also on X, which was formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Scared for Reals. That's our handle. And spoiler alert, we're going to discuss this film from start to finish. So the first story, the death of RMF. Again, RMF he's kind of like a godlike character in a way, and he kind of keeps the movie grounded when it goes into real absurd territory. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like he's an interesting character because you don't really hear him say anything. He's always kind of there.
Yep.
The only way I can kind of compare it is there was this 10-part anthology film called Decalogue. It was a Polish film back in the late 80s. It was originally like a 1-hour episode. It was like 10 parts, each for the 10 commandments. Mm-hmm. But, some people, let's release this theatrically. So he took 2 of the films and made it into a 3-hour movie. But, yeah, 10 hours is a lot.
Yeah.
So this is about 2.5 hours. So the death of RMF, Jesse Plemons plays Robert Fletcher, and he seems like a well-established business guy, but he literally follows out every order given to him by his boss, who's played by Willem Dafoe. He literally Willem Dafoe kind of controls his whole life, from who he marries, what he eats, when he eats it, and what house he buys, the gifts he's allowed to have, and even the wife he shares his life with.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
It sums up everything. So Robert Fletcher, he's, follows everything, and his boss's name is Raymond. Willem Dafoe plays Raymond. One day, Willem Dafoe orders Jesse Plemons, Robert, to crash his car at a particular intersection. It has to be the intersection he says, in order to kill a man known only by his initials, RMF, who has willingly agreed to be killed.
Okay.
Yeah. So after failing at first, Jesse Plemons' character Robert confesses that he is strongly unwilling to do such an act, but Raymond sternly insists that it has to be done, and after his refusal, well, everything just falls apart. His wife goes missing, and he seems depressed. He's not eating the foods he's supposed to be eating. He's drinking. Because even when he went to a bar, they had a drink waiting for him because Raymond somehow tells the bar what to do. It's interesting. Wow. So yeah, Jesse Plemons' character, his life falls apart. So he tries to get Raymond's respect again. He meets, at a bar, he meets this woman named Rita, who's played by Emma Stone. Mm-hmm. A woman whose life Robert quickly finds out is also being controlled by Raymond.
Of course.
She gets into an accident herself, and it's interesting. He sees RMF on one of the hospital beds.
Yeah.
So he finds out that Rita is also, controlled by Raymond. And Rita ends up later in the hospital. RMF is in critical condition. Now, in a last-ditch effort, Robert steals a nurse's clothes and kidnaps RMF, dumping him outside the parking lot and repeatedly running him over, eventually killing him.
All right.
And then Robert arrives at Raymond's mansion, and Raymond, and Raymond's live-in lover, who's played by Margaret Qualley, they embrace on the couch together, and that's
mission accomplished.
Yeah, that's the end of the first story. Second one, RMF is flying. Jesse Plemons plays part of this police officer named Daniel. He's mourning the disappearance of his wife, Liz, played by Emma Stone. They don't really make it clear, but she's some sort of marine biologist.
Okay.
And she went missing at sea somehow. But then he receives news that she was rescued in a helicopter piloted by RMF. So Emma Stone, Liz, miraculously returns to Daniel, but many things about her seem kind of strange. Her behavior, her interest seems to be the opposite of how she was before, and her feet no longer fit in her shoes, which leads Daniel to believe that, he's got this thing that's not her. It's a clone of her somehow. Mm-hmm. So she's the exact opposite of how she was before. And in the midst of his growing obsession and paranoia over Liz, he behaves erratically during a traffic stop. And like literally, he's pulls these people over, this couple. He frisks this lady's pocket, finds a cell phone. He thinks it's his cell phone. And so the boyfriend kind of gets upset, and he comes out, and he thinks he has a gun in his hand, and he shoots the guy's hand. And it leads to all sorts of disasters.
Oh,
he didn't have anything in his hand. He Daniel's so obsessed that he thought there was something in his hand. And then after he shoots the passenger in the hand, he licks the wound, causing him to be suspended from the police force. So not only does he shoot but he licks the guy's wound.
Weird. Weird.
So Liz, again played by Emma Stone, recounts to her father a dream she experienced while lost at sea. And Willem Dafoe is her dad, by the way. Okay. What a great father figure,
yeah.
Huh? And I guess she says in her dream, apparently dogs were the dominant species. And I was watching this, and I'm like, I wouldn't mind being in a society controlled by dogs. But then she elaborates further, and I quickly changed my mind. And the dominant species were the dogs, and they kept humans like Liz as pets. She concludes that it's better to rely on something consistently available rather than something that depletes each day. So, yeah, so Liz trapped at home, or well, actually Daniel's trapped at home because he's suspended. He really can't go anywhere. He's talking with a psychologist, and he's probably on some meds, which doesn't help his paranoia.
Yeah.
So Daniel, is still unconvinced that Liz is who she says she is. So he begins starving himself and then orders Liz to harm herself. This is what he says. He wants her to cut off her thumb and then cook it so he can eat it.
Jeez.
So she does. She severs her thumb, serves it in a dish, and then he asks her to cut out her liver, and then she dies after doing that.
Well, yeah.
But this is you want to talk about interesting.
Yep.
Immediately afterward, another Liz shows up at Daniel's door, and they happily embrace. And over the credits, footage of dogs living like humans is shown.
Wow.
What do you think so far, Adam? Is this something you would enjoy?
Hey, man.
I'm just asking. Because you didn't get to see this.
I mean, I like anthology movies, and I kind of like this concept of using the same actors in different parts.
Mm-hmm. They try. I know the Wachowskis tried that a decade ago with Cloud Atlas, and I thought it was terrible. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see Cloud Atlas, but like some of my favorite horror movies, like Trick or Treat or Black Sabbath, wonderful anthology movies.
Mm-hmm. They're just Two Evil Eyes is another anthology horror movie.
Yeah,
because I think Romero did that. Or there's a few of those anthology movies. I know Carpenter produced one. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be a series, Body Bags.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, the world famous Terrifier now started off as a anthology movie. Art the Clown was one part of All Hallows Eve by Damien Leone.
Right.
But
we're forgetting another
interesting.
Another anthology film. Since I just thinking off the top of my head, Creepshow. Creepshow movies.
Yeah, I mean, how can we miss Creepshow? I mean, I'm almost ashamed that we, that wasn't the first on the list. But I mean, so this is a cool. I mean, I like this concept of filmmaking. I think this is cool, and it's interesting having one ongoing theme. This is RMF character running through it. So we had the slaughter of this guy, and now we're into cannibalism. So let's go to the third story.
Yeah, RMF eats a sandwich. So you've got Emily and Andrew, again, Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone. They are two cult members who are looking for a woman with the ability to reanimate the dead. Now, we're not talking about Jeffrey Combs or anything.
Right.
I know you love the Reanimator movies. This is not exactly like that.
I only like the first one.
Yeah, there's a Bride of Reanimator.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
I know there's a huge,
Beyond Reanimator.
yeah, I know there's a huge following for that franchise. I only preferred the first one, but
right.
I mean,
but this is not the kind of reanimation you're thinking of.
I'm
so
sure it isn't.
Well, they examine a candidate named Anna, who they find to be unsuccessful, and Emma Stone, secretly makes regular visits to her estranged husband. So for some reason, this cult keeps her away from her family because she has a husband and a girl. And Jesse Plemons is kind of has an idea she's going back to her husband. He's kind of warning her about it at the same time because she's constantly late for things. Yep. And so she visits her estranged husband and her daughter. And later at the headquarters, the cult leader, Willem Dafoe,
hey,
and his and I think it's his wife. They don't really say, but it's his lover in the cult, played by Hong Chow. So at the headquarters, Willem Dafoe gives Emily and Andrew info on another possible candidate, only for them to find out that she is already dead. So Emily believes that the woman they're looking for appeared to her in a dream. This is the second time where the dream comes into play here. So while Emily and Andrew are eating at a restaurant, a woman named Rebecca, Margaret Qualley, who resembles the woman Emily dreamed about, approaches them and says she knows who they are. She suggests that her twin sister would be a perfect candidate. And of course, Jesse Plemons is like kind of brushing this off at this point, saying that one of the requirements is that the candidate's twin must be deceased, was not met. So during a visit to her old home, Emily runs into Joseph, her husband, and the daughter as she is leaving. And obviously, I think Joseph here is kind of, missing his wife. I mean, if like your wife or my wife left, you'd probably miss them after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, just randomly leaving for God knows how long. Mm-hmm. So he invites Emily to visit them again. She does, but, well, again, like nothing is just so in a Yorgos movie. Something interesting has to happen.
Right.
So her husband drugs her and rapes her while she is unconscious.
Well, that's not nice.
So Emily is then kicked out of the cult after being found to be contaminated, because there's like a scene earlier in this story where this one girl seems to be, she had relations with someone outside the cult, and Willem Dafoe and Hong Chow kind of freak out. They put her in the sauna, kind of burn it out, hopefully. Yeah. And then Hong Chow licks her to find out if she's contaminated or not.
All right.
So
cults.
Yeah, it's an interesting cult. So let's see here. So Emily is kicked out because she's found to be contaminated.
Okay.
So she's kicked out. As part of a plan to return to the cult, what Emma Stone thinks she could do is she's got to find Ruth. So before leaving, though, she visits Rebecca, who called earlier to say that she would be able to meet one of the requirements. But Rebecca kills herself by diving into an empty pool during Emily's visit because she thinks, her sister will touch her and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
So, Emma Stone's like, okay, I better go find her. And after visiting Ruth's veterinarian practice, witnessing the spontaneous healing of a dog she examined, Emily knocks her out, brings her to the morgue, where she orders Ruth to bring RMF's body back to life. So there's RMF.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah. Ruth is able to do so, and Emily is all excited. She does this weird dance, and then, well, what happens is her character drives fast throughout the whole movie. So you think it's going to be a happy ending. She's going to get back to the sex cult, but, well, she crashes her car on the way to the cult's headquarters, which kills Ruth.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's the thing, like in the dream, Emma Stone's character is drowning and Ruth rescues her. Mm-hmm. And like literally she thinks she is drowned, and because of Ruth, she's brought back to life.
Gotcha.
So, and her twin sister was going to do that. I'm going to just jump into a pool because she did it.
Yeah.
Years before. Got to love these backstories. And she was miraculously brought back to life by Ruth. Well, both of them are dead now, except for RMF.
Yeah, who apparently has a mid-credit scene where he's eating a sandwich and spills ketchup on his shirt.
Yeah.
Just like every guy in America.
Well, and people were kind of like, what the heck does this mean? They're trying to, again, it's ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like all of Yorgos's films. I mean, so it's like the characters in all three of these stories essentially do these things to maintain the status quo. That's what it just seems like, to fit in, where do I fit in society? I gotta do these things. I gotta kill people.
Yeah.
And Liz, or in the second movie, Emma Stone has to literally cut out her liver just to fit in.
Right.
Which is like you're pretty much killing yourself, which is there's a lot of cool analogies here, and then they're dominated. They're the ones doing the dominating in some cases. It's all about control, warped sense of love, and how far someone is willing to go to keep that love, no matter how abusive or, it's interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting stuff. That's how we sum up his cinema it's interesting. Poor Things about, Willem Dafoe's his creator and he creates Emma Stone's character. It's got like the Frankenstein vibe, but has nothing to do with Frankenstein at the same time. So in The Favorite, these two women, again, I think dominating each other to try to get control of the queen's love.
Yeah.
Yeah, very weird, very interesting, very twisted. All these movies are very twisted. At least I've only seen 3 movies that Yorgos directed, and they're all completely different from each other, and they're all interesting, but yet they're very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. So, what do you think so far of how would you sum up of what you've heard? Is this something you would watch, Adam?
This might be a good one-time watch for me. Like I said, I really like the anthology format, and I kind of just reading the synopsis here with you and going over it. I'm intrigued on what they did. You know? So, but unfortunately, like we were saying before we hit the record button, it's not looking too great at the box office right now, Chris.
Well, it doesn't have like what happened with Poor Things last year. It got released in the fall.
Yeah. And
it had time to build. It got limited release, and then as it got, the Oscar buzz helped it.
Yeah.
We talk about, I still think the Oscars are very irrelevant, but they help movies out. They've been known, like Dances with Wolves was a bomb when it first came out.
Right.
But then it got a ton of Oscar nominations. They re-released it, and boom. Right. It was a huge success. But in its first run, it was not. Dances with Wolves was considered a box office failure.
Yeah.
And now I don't know if this is going to be happening with, it doesn't look like Kinds of Kindness has got the same kind of vibe, same kind of excitement as Poor Things did. $5 million for a movie of this nature is actually pretty good.
Yeah, but when you spend $15 million to make it.
Yeah. Yeah. But none of his movies are meant to be blockbusters. It was surprising that The Favorite made like almost $100 million, and Poor Things made over $100 million.
No, I mean, I'm not suggesting that he went in to make the movie of the year, but at the same time, this is a business, so you don't go in to lose money.
No, I really don't think this movie will lose money. His movies need time to breathe.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have the same amount of release as Inside Out 2 or anything like that.
Right.
And that's been like a huge draw, and Bad Boys 4. It's
right.
People complain. This is one of the big gripes I have. And I know this movie's not for everybody, but people complain there's no original ideas anymore. So you have an original idea. you have
a format that's not used often.
Right.
You know?
You have Yorgos making original movies. Ty West has had some success. We were just talking about the X trilogy. Again, original idea. And then you have Kevin Costner, his big Western epic, not doing so hot at the box office either. Again, original idea. And it's like, okay, there's three different genres we just mentioned where there's originality, and to some success they've had money-wise, but
right.
People are always complaining at him. I'm sure you hear about it all the time. Hollywood needs original ideas. Well, here you go. Here are some ideas.
Sure.
Maybe they're not your cup of tea, but at least we're getting original ideas. And,
right.
and if you want more original ideas, you kind of have to support them, whether you like them or not.
Right.
And I think, Kevin Costner's not, he doesn't care. His movies are they're paid for already.
Right.
And Francis Ford Coppola's got a big epic that's coming out that he personally funded himself. So it's good to see some originality out there, but that doesn't, unfortunately people just keep going back to the same old sequels over and over again.
Well, it's safe. It's
safe.
It's when from producers or movie distributors. I mean, it's safe to put Bad Boys up against kinds of you're gonna just Bad Boys alone is just gonna draw whether the movie sucks or not.
I honestly think this movie would have fared better if it was released in the fall.
Probably. Probably this is
September,
more,
October.
Yeah.
I don't know whose idea it was to release it in the middle of summer season.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've seen a lot of somewhat original ideas this summer. I mean, The Fall Guy, it's kind of loosely based on a 90s TV series, but that bombed.
Yeah.
And again, it's these original ideas. They're not all good.
Right.
Fall Guy was not that good of a movie. It was a fun one-time watch on the big screen. I seriously doubt we would have enjoyed it as much if we watched it at home. But we'll see what happens. I mean, we're only a few weeks in. Probably won't have the staying power as Poor Things. But again, I think it's released at a horrible time.
Yeah.
The Favorite was kind of released in the fall/winter. And
right.
I think Yorgos would have had more financial success if it was released then. But again, I thought this was just as good as Poor Things. I mean, I can't watch his movies more than once.
Right.
They're good. I can't revisit them. It's just there's
intense.
They're intense, and and he's got kind of a snarky way of looking at life. It's like, the whole RMF, like eating a sandwich, getting ketchup all over, and he's the only guy that's survived all three stories.
Right.
It's you can be kind of summed up how he feels about life.
Yeah.
Things don't happen the way you expect it, and making some of the stuff that we care about so much kind of pointless.
Right.
Which is an interesting way to look at it, but it's not an easy watch on the big screen,
Yeah, no.
You're seeing people cutting their thumbs off, trying to cut their liver out, and crashing, agreeing to be killed, and then crashed into, and and being like trying to capture people for sex club purposes. It's really it's hard to find an audience sometimes when you have those kind of things in there.
Right.
And we'll see. I mean, it's got pretty decent reviews from what I'm seeing, but it's just, and I like he had a hard time coming up with the original title was RMF.
Right.
And then he later changed it to And.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then was changed again to Kinds of Kindness. And I guess, like I said before, RMF, they're not in reference to anything according to Yorgos. And he co-wrote the script. This person he's co-written movies with: Dogtooth, Alps, The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer. You've probably heard a couple of those movies in there.
Yeah.
But his movies are not easy to watch. But I will say, he did film some of this in Louisiana, so he is like some good shots of Louisiana in the movie. But it's just not an easy film to watch. But go ahead.
Just because you mentioned it, and I know this again, this is not something we do often. The critical reviews aren't horrible. I mean, Rotten Tomato by the critics, 73% out of 211 critics, and then viewers, the audience is giving it a 6.6 out of 10.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're kind of, and I hate when they do this.
Yeah,
they compare it to his previous movies, and again, this is nothing like Poor Things, or The Favorite, or Alps, or Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a different type of movie, different type of vibe, and I just the cynicism, I guess, is what I really like, because look at the title, Kinds of Kindness. Yeah. And there's nothing kind in the movie.
Not even a little bit.
It's his dark, twisted humor. You
right.
know, I mean, the guy obviously has a twisted sense of humor. By calling a movie Kind of Kindness, and then there's nothing kind in that movie.
Yeah,
there really isn't. You try to look for kindness, and that's the whole cynicism of it. Very, very cynical movie.
Right.
And it's, all these characters are all being selfish. They're all doing what's good for them, but they're totally not doing things that are good for anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the last movie, Emma Stone abandoning her family for a sex cult, and then the guy missing his wife so much that he drugs and rapes her. It's like,
you got marital problems.
Yeah, kinds of kindness.
Your wife.
Well, I know, it's like there's nothing kind in these movies, and that's the point, I think.
Right. Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Have you seen this movie yet? It's wide release, Adam, but yet it's not in all theaters. It didn't have a wide release like Poor Things did. And Poor Things, to be fair, started off in a certain amount of theaters, and then it kept building and building. It's not making as much money as Poor Things, so it's probably not going to expand.
No, unfortunately, if unless there's a dramatic increase in revenue over the next week, week, you probably won't see it in the theaters too long.
No, but if the critics remember it, I hate to, because the Oscars, people still hold a lot of clout to the Oscars. If it does get Oscar attention, it could get re-released, and it may make some money then. Who knows? But that's gonna be kind of difficult to do. It's very rare that movies from the summer and winter time actually are thought of in the fall. Oppenheimer was a rare bird, and so was Barbie. They basically,
right,
because of how well financially they did. I mean, both of those movies were overwhelmingly popular.
Right.
Silence of the Lambs is another weird example of, the movie got released in February, and it all throughout the year it got remembered. But again, it doesn't happen too often. Mm-hmm. It's usually films that are released in the fall or early stages of winter, like December.
Yeah.
So. But I highly recommend Kinds of Kindness. If you love Yorgos Lanthimos cinema, you're definitely going to enjoy it. And I don't know if you'll like it any more or less, but if you love exploring, and it seems like Yorgos himself loves exploring different genres and different avenues, and it's fun to watch him at work. I mean, the guy definitely, he knows how to write a story, he knows how to write a script, he knows how to direct. And Emma Stone, he's really guided her into being one of the most versatile actresses of this generation.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with her Oscar win last year, but there's no denying how great she was, and she's brilliant here. And Jesse Plemons, who's been kind of quietly, building his resume, he definitely is remarkable in all three of the different roles, arguably giving two of the better male performances of the year so far.
Right.
I mean, he's that good. And, of course, Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you have Willem Dafoe in a movie, you're going to get a good performance.
Yeah.
Even if he phones it in, which he doesn't here, even if he phones it in like Speed 2,
Yeah.
he's still fun to watch.
Right.
But I recommend Kinds of Kindness. Have you seen it already? Let us know below. Again, we're scared for reels. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We're still working on getting the video stuff figured out. As soon as we know how to do it, you will definitely know. But yeah, follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook, and let us know what you think about Kinds of Kindness.
We'll see you next time on Scared for Reals.